Oh,
Here we go.
here we go. SeAnDawn here.
It's Friday Live. You should just try not to do it one time.
I did not do anything. All right, SeAnDawn here. We know the deal. We know the deal, what day it is.
Welcome.
So let's talk about today's lineup here. I'll go through the lineup and we'll start getting on it here. Mm-hmm. So the first thing, the feature topic today is fitness and ethical responsibility.
Ooh, deep.
Deep stuff here we'll get into.
discussion.
I'll give you a knee update. Upcoming core challenge starting November 15th, ending at the end of the year. So it'd be really good.
6-week challenge there.
Some apparel processing into the order.
Yep.
We're going to talk about our featured athlete birthdays, and how to get a hold of us. Oh, okay. Good lineup. The big topic here.
Big topic, yeah.
Is fitness an ethical responsibility? And I have thought about this a lot lately with the pandemic and stuff. And let's just set the playing field based off our values and how we see things.
Right. Sort of implied.
So we see the healthcare spectrum and the wellness spectrum as broken in a lot of ways, especially on the healthcare settings. There's big pharma out there who is more about prescribing drugs to, mask things that are preventable with, in often cases, with proper nutrition.
Right, preventable or even reversible.
Reversible, yeah.
In cases, yeah.
We have healthcare agencies out there who, you have a cardiologist telling you to lose weight, yet they're, 150 pounds overweight, who don't basically
practice what they preach.
And so their patients aren't going to do that. And I don't know the answer to that in the healthcare spectrum, but I do know that in CrossFit, we talked about this recently, about how CrossFit has this new health practice out there. They're trying to put this care team of understanding what wellness is, and then
in its wholeness.
And then putting it up there. The federal government is broken. We can all agree with that, right? If we think about the food pyramids back when we were kids and how it's evolved, they didn't really give you any guidance on it. And the diet industry is broken, right? I mean, it's
completely broken.
Big broken.
Yeah. And so much misinformation.
It's overcomplicated.
Yeah.
I feel as society, it is your moral responsibility, ethical responsibility, to take the best care of yourself as you can.
Right.
And we'll break this down why. So if we look at, I'll post this funnel somewhere here or over there. I'm not quite sure where it'll fit. But if we think about the healthcare system without obesity impact, societal obesity impact that leads to greater, or a higher risk for disease, type 2 diabetes, early onset cardiac events, whatever it might be, all those cholesterols, all those type of things, right? If society as a whole was having a more wellness perspective, like you see in Australia and stuff like that, to where a lot of them they have a better view of keeping themselves active and eating properly. A lot of it, I think it's also, and I'm jumping all over here, so I'll get back to that in a second. But if everyone was doing their part, or most people were doing their part in this case, you would have the people that are getting, that are aging and then being introduced to those, whatever they might be, a cardiac event, but the cardiac event's happening at 75, not at 40, right? You would have enough in our system, support system, to actually care for those aging patients that are aging there. So you would be able to go through that funnel and get, through the funnel fairly efficiently. Right. But we introduce all these societal impact, and you can see here from this next slide. Now we got early onset diabetes, we have early onset cardiac events, high cholesterol, just everything that goes with obesity, high blood pressure, all of those things, right? Now they clog the system up, so those people that really need it, maybe those older people, can't get into the system, and you're frustrated with it, and it's costing us higher money, that insurance, I mean, it spills across everywhere.
Yes.
Higher taxes everywhere. This goes out there. And it's a lot of corporation greed out there with misinformation for people, and quite frankly, a lot of people are just lazy.
Well, and I think it's important to note that, like when we talk about fitness being an ethical responsibility, like we don't mean necessarily organized fitness, like
absolutely
going to a gym. We are using the term more to mean overall health and movement and taking care of your body.
Doing your part to take care of your body.
Right.
So we both have aging parents who we can see the impact now of their decisions early on and how it impacts their overall quality of life now and the family, right? Because now the family has to step up to support these individuals because they can't, and they're technically not at the age to where they should. They have they're mentally there. Not my mom, but
which quite honestly happens to all of us at some point or another. But the goal for all of us should be to prolong that, right, as long as we possibly can.
Yeah, like I see this, like we're all going to need some care at some point. My goal for me is to take as good care for myself as I can while living a fulfilled life that gives me joy and happiness, so that I don't put an extra burden on you later on or our kids, right, for this prolonged period. My grandfather, who passed away when he was 93, he got healthier at the end. He had a bunch of misinformation, but he always stayed active. He would go swim and stuff like that, but he always stayed active. Wasn't a traditional workout person, but was out in the yard doing things, and then found better eating habits. His burden to the family was we would take care of him, take him to a doctor here and there, but he lived on his own. And it wasn't until the last couple months of his life to where he needed that extra care, support from the family, and and he lived responsibly in that way. However, and once again, we have situations that we're in now to where we have this longer term care plan that the family has to take on, our health system has to take on, because of potentially some bad choices or lack of information early on,
or resources.
We don't fault you for that, just so you know. We don't fault you for lack of knowledge, because it is. They ball all this information up, tie knots in, and they throw it out there and say, figure it out. Right. Our goal has always been to teach you to fish and help you understand how to have a good balanced life.
I think that we, like you were saying, the breakdown of all of the systems, right? Our governments, our courts, everything, our medical system. And it just always comes back to the fact that, we have to be our own advocate. We have to take care of ourselves. No one's going to do it for us. And I think that when you break it all down, in the convenience-driven culture that we now live in, it's become all about, our rights versus our responsibility. And so our personal responsibility to take care of ourselves. Instead, we want to point fingers at, well, my doctor let me down because they didn't give me this information. And then, if you start looking up the chain, it's easy to see the brokenness and to point at all of these things that maybe should have been done differently so that your outcome is different. However, it all comes down to our own personal responsibility.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that brings up a good point, that I have a hard time with this, and the fact that with the COVID scenario right now, and we are considered non-essential. If you're, a pro-mask or a pro-vaccine, I support you. I'm actually pro-vaccine. I support that thing. I'm not necessarily so much on the mask mandates, but I understand it. But what's really hard to hear is, and I'm going to use those terms, Karen and Kens, who are the people that are out there squawking and telling everyone, is that Karen and Ken's out there saying, you need to put your mask on. It's a social and moral responsibility to save lives out there. But Karen and Ken are carrying an extra 50 to 100 pounds of body weight. And the only reason that they're really at risk for COVID and succumbing of it, likely, is their health style choices. Yet now it's our responsibility to take care of you and shut down our business because you weren't doing your part. But you now want me to do my part to protect you. Do you see how that's just like, what?
And not even that, but to just pick and choose
what you do,
what our moral responsibilities should be. So if that's the case, then we should be doing these things to keep each other safe. Well, then what's our moral responsibility along those same lines with our health?
Well, and I was thinking about this a little bit in societies, like in, I think it's Japan, where they almost always, their workforce goes out and they do some sort of calisthenic exercise, for a half hour to hour. And they get out and they move their body, and it doesn't look very complicated, right? But they're out there moving, and it is societal that they do this. They also listen to their elders too there, just so you know, because they have they appreciate the wisdom there.
Right.
And I'm like, and our employees here that work for us, we require them to work out because we believe that's what's best for overall health and wellness, right? They need to understand what we do. And it's not just working out, it's just
movement.
It's movement, right? It doesn't mean coming here or going to Anytime Fitness or going to the Y. It means movement and eating well. And that's where the misinformation is in there. And you can't depend on the federal government. You really can't. They don't know what the hell they're doing, right? They really don't. So you have to find those resources. And I realize it's hard. That said, if you're watching this video and you're not in this area and you're confused on this, go to a CrossFit gym. Seriously. They are the ones that are aligned with trying to have population wellness. Tell them that
and
you
a holistic approach.
Holistic approach
in general.
And so I think it is your responsibility. I feel it is, especially now more than ever. I've gotten bitter to the people telling me what I should do. Meanwhile, they are so guilty of impacting and burdening society with their lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
And I'm transparent with that. I forgive you for being that way, but I'm bitter about it because you've just thrown it in my face for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So yes, from my point, it is an ethical responsibility.
Well, and I think if you break it down to just human biology, and the way our bodies were created, we were created for movement.
Yeah.
And at what point in our lives did we stop moving? And for a lot of people it's different, but if you think back personally in your own life, when did you stop moving? Like as kids, right? We all move. Mm. Every kid runs around and plays. And that's fitness, that's moving, that's taking care of your body. And at some point in our lives that stops and it becomes more about sitting and sedentary and it's a chore now, and exercise isn't fun, and it hurts, and it's uncomfortable, and it's all those things. But realizing that our bodies are created a certain way, we should be taking care of ourselves, and the impact that it has on our society and
your family. And it's really not your society that most people think about. It's their small nucleus around them. Yep. So if you think about the impact of how this occurs, it's just, life is hard already. You can get hit by a bus, just crossing the street there. Mm-hmm. But living your best life and your quality life is important there. Right. And we're not faulting you if you're trying, right? If you're out there trying,
one has it perfect.
No one does.
Yeah.
So we're not faulting if you're trying. However, I will fault you if you're just sitting back going, not me.
Pointing fingers.
Yeah, pointing fingers and other stuff. Because you do have a responsibility for this. And it will improve your overall outcome of your life. I have some people now that are getting in their 40s that will message me and be like, I probably should start taking care of myself better. What can you do for me? And we could take care of you at any starting point. It's not too late.
You're 70, it's not too late.
But it's like, how do we make that more ingrained, like you said, from coming
in our culture
out of that 18-year-old and going right back into being better prepared, with our overall wellness mindset. Yeah. It could look totally different. It's having good balanced nutrition, some sort of movement.
Yep.
Right? It's really what it is. So I think it is.
I would agree as well that, it definitely does become a moral obligation and responsibility on the individual. And if we all looked at it that way, all of us in general, and made any effort, even 5% effort, imagine how much different the world would be.
Yeah.
So curious your thoughts on that. Share with us if you think something different. But interesting topic.
The update.
knee update that we shared last week. We have a surgery date of December 20th.
I think we shared that last week, right?
Yep. So not much has changed. Just finding out a few more things and
so let's just
you
go
have to check off the list.
You have to get your
surgery.
dental exam.
So you have to have a dental cleaning be checked out
Your
by
primary care has to
dentist.
check off, which has already
Primary
happened.
care. You have to do blood work and lab work, and then a COVID test. Oh, and I think you have to take a class. I have to take some education on just a joint replacement and what all that entails, the actual surgery itself, and studying up on that so that you're completely informed and aware.
Yeah.
So that's what we know so far.
We're excited on this. Her knee is still, it's still crap. It's not getting any better.
It's definitely progressing worse, I would say, in the last few weeks. I feel like every week I lose one more movement. So like squatting, lunging, step ups, all those things have kind of been taken away, which is kind of a bummer. So I'm having a hard time figuring out different ways to activate lower body, but still figuring it out.
I was watching you this morning work out because Dawn works out at 5 a.m. when I'm coaching, and I'm just proud of her always finding movement that she can do. She's obligated to show up because she owns the place, but the movement that she can do to keep herself as healthy as she can during this transition time. That's ethical responsibility of not just saying my knee's crap, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to figure out what I can do as I'm working towards recovering for that knee.
Well, and it's all about mentality. I think for me too is getting my mind right. So it's always a battle. Like some days you just want to be, there's nothing I can do. It's easier just to not do it. I just don't feel like it. It hurts, blah, blah, blah. Or I can think of it, flip it up on its end and think of it as like more of a challenge. Like, what can I do? What kinds of things can I find today? How can I get a good workout? So if I change my frame of reference, it's helpful.
Good.
It'll be interesting. One of my goals I'll share with you guys is to try. So, Sean and I walk 10,000 steps every day. And we have since January 1. So my goal would be to try to continue that 10,000 steps all the way up until surgery. So there were a couple of days last week where it got pretty bad, and I thought I was not going to be able to get them all. So far, so good.
Yeah, we'll see.
So it's slow some days, but I'm getting them.
As long as you forgive yourself if you can, I'm okay with that challenge.
Yeah.
Upcoming core challenge. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm not going to really give too many hints as far as the movements, but the next challenge will start November 15th, and it will go to the end of the year. So it'll give us 6 weeks there, and it's a core challenge. So we're working the midline specifically. Also, along those lines, the next ladies lift will be starting November 15th as well. So those of you ladies, if you haven't already spoken to Cameron, those of you that are planning to go again, and I know we have a few new ladies jumping on board, so make sure you get her your name and email information there, but November 15th.
Awesome.
Next one. So
apparel.
Some apparel, yeah. So there's been a couple announcements in Mighty Networks, and then also down on Wodify, I almost said when I work, about our new apparel. So some fall stuff coming out. So a new process if you're going to order things. So just to think about, down on the rack where you see the new hoodies in the one color, those are for sizing reference. So there should be one of each size there for you to try on, so you know what size you need in that line. That's pretty much going to be our hoodie for a while, that line, that brand. So try the size on so you know. There will be 4 color options to choose from to start with. So you'll fill out the order form, you'll take it into the cafe. Every Friday we'll submit orders, and it's a 2-week or less turnaround from Holly. So when it comes in, we let you know, you come in, you pick it up, and you pay for it then.
Excellent. Awesome.
Okay.
Featured athlete.
Andres Acosta.
Great athlete.
And Andres, if you're listening to this, here's the question. Is it Andres Or is it
Andreas. I think it's Andreas.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were having a bit of a discussion, the girls and I. They say Andreas, but I don't see an A after the E. Andreas.
Well, okay.
I just see Andres.
So let's go back to your name. You tell us what's right. You follow. You'll come into it. We'll see whether you watch this or not.
Yep. Anyway,
he
Andres
works
is
out
a
with
great
me.
guy. He comes every day. He's very consistent at 6 a.m.
He works out with me,
Yeah.
and the guy has got an engine, and he's got a work ethic that I appreciate.
Very nice guy.
Very.
And I always point him out to other athletes. Like, he's a really good mover.
Yeah, he
so if
is.
you want to see what it should look like, it's supposed to look like, watch Andres. So
Birthdays.
birthdays, one this week, Julie Broussard.
Happy birthday, Julie.
Happy birthday, Julie.
Julie's great member. She's a volunteer firefighter and does all kinds of stuff out in the community.
The state,
Yeah.
DSHS.
And
yeah.
so great person. Been a member for, for 4 or 5 years now, I'm guessing.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, last thing here. Looking to contact us. Follow on the screen here. You're going to go to Storm King Athletic Club, upper right-hand corner. You're going to see free intro. You're going to click on that. If you're a member, you're going to click on the member side. If you're a non-member, to non-member. Pick a time that works for you. Show up in the door and get here. We will send you a contact usually. Once we get the contact information, we'll start texting you to just verify you're going to be there. Right? And see if we have any pre-questions we can answer for you.
Right on.
With that, have a great week, everyone.
Have a great weekend.
All right.
Bye.